I never thought one glance could change the way I saw everything. It all started on a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind of day where time seems to slow down and every sound feels louder than it should. My father-in-law, Mark, came over to help fix a broken window in the guest room. My husband, Daniel, had been working extra hours lately, so it was just Mark and me at home. Nothing unusual, at least that's what I told myself. Mark and I always got along well. He had this calm, steady energy that made people feel safe. We'd often share a laugh, small talk over coffee, or stories about the past. But that afternoon, something between us shifted. The air felt heavier. Every glance seemed to last just a little too long. Every smile carried something unspoken. I remember standing near the window, pretending to focus on the cracked frame while he handed me a screwdriver. When our fingers brushed, something inside me jolted. It wasn't just a touch, it was a spark, quick and hot, like static that had been waiting too long to release. I froze, unsure whether to move away or say something. But Mark didn't either. He just stood there, eyes lingering for half a second too long before he cleared his throat and looked away. The silence between us was deafening. I tried to keep busy, wiping non-existent dust off the sill, but my hands trembled slightly. I could feel him behind me, close enough that I could sense his breath, even though he wasn't touching me. The room suddenly felt too small for the both of us. My mind flashed with memories, family dinners, birthdays, holidays, moments that once felt innocent. But now, each one felt tinted with something else, something I didn't have a name for. When the repair was finally done, we stood awkwardly by the window, the last bit of sunlight fading behind the trees. He looked at me, and for a brief moment, I saw something in his eyes that both terrified and thrilled me. That night at dinner, the air was thick with unspoken tension. Daniel sat across from us, chatting about work, completely unaware of the quiet electricity humming between his wife and his father. Every time I lifted my gaze, Mark's eyes met mine before darting away. My heart was racing the entire meal. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Just a weird moment, just nerves. But when his hand brushed mine again as he passed the salt, I knew it wasn't nothing. It was real. Later, Daniel's phone rang. He excused himself to take the call outside, leaving me and Mark alone at the table. I stared down at my plate, pretending to be busy, but the silence was unbearable. He stood up slowly, his chair scraping softly against the tile. I could feel his eyes on me again before he took a step closer. Maybe I should, he began, but he didn't finish. The air between us felt like a held breath. Every part of me screamed to walk away, to end this strange, dangerous pull, but my body wouldn't move. Then the front door creaked open. Daniel's footsteps echoed in the hall. Mark stepped back immediately, turning toward the family photos on the wall like he was studying them for the first time. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. Daniel looked between us, brow furrowing slightly. "Everything okay in here?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, we were just talking about the window." He nodded, but I could tell he sensed something wasn't right. The rest of the evening passed in uneasy silence. Every sound, the clinking of dishes, the hum of the refrigerator, felt amplified. I could barely meet Mark's eyes. That night, after Daniel had fallen asleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the entire day, the touch, the glance, the almosts. I hated myself for how alive it made me feel. And then my phone buzzed. I reached for it, heart pounding, and saw Mark's name on the screen. The message was simple. "We need to talk. I can't pretend nothing happened." Before I could even respond, another message popped up, this time from Daniel. I saw everything. My blood ran cold. I turned to look at him, but he was already awake, sitting up, phone still in his hand. The room was too quiet. My throat tightened as I tried to find the right words, but nothing came out. The next morning, he was sitting at the kitchen table, his coffee untouched, eyes tired but steady. I sat across from him, my heart in pieces. He took a deep breath. "If we're going to move forward, I need honesty. No lies. No hiding." Tears welled up before I could stop them. It wasn't about the messages or the glances anymore, it was about what had been missing between us for months. The distance, The unspoken loneliness, the quiet resentment of two people who loved each other but had stopped really seeing each other. We talked for hours. About everything, the tension, the silence, the mistakes that had led us here. It wasn't easy, but for the first time in a long time, it felt real. Mark came by later that day. He didn't say much. Just a quiet apology and a look that said he regretted it all as much as I did. Then he left, giving us the space to rebuild. Days passed. Daniel and I took long walks, cooked dinner together, and talked late into the night. Slowly, something inside us healed. The spark that had almost destroyed us became the reason we learned to fight for each other again. Sometimes life tests you in ways you never expect. It tempts you, challenges you, and forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. As I stood by the same window one evening, sunlight spilling across the floor, I realized that not every storm comes to break you. Some storms come to clear the air, to remind you what's worth holding on to. And as Daniel came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist, I knew one thing for sure: we had almost lost everything, but in the end, we found something real. Something unshakable. Something worth every fight.